I have to say, Chris, being up there, you know, when the snow was on the ground, the back end of last week it was, the scenery in there's absolutely stunning. It's a bit chilly.
What an amazing property.
Yeah, it's great. And what I love about Shropshire is you find these little gems, don't you? Places that you don't even know exist.
No, just
you go down the driveway and beautiful, beautiful. And that's, I'd love to know a bit more about that monument, because it's got some really bizarre, quite sinister things on it, really, to be honest.
Interesting.
Anyway, we're now joined by a familiar face, if you were with us at the back end of last year, Teagan Crump, who was with us doing some work placement with us, but you got involved in doing all sorts of different things on the show. We'll be hearing from you a little bit later on, won't we, with our 90 seconds with spot, where we'll reveal who's in the hot seat later on. But what have you been up to since you were here last?
So I've done loads more interviews for my podcast, which everyone should follow.
So tell everybody about it.
So Avoid the Tyre Wall, it's motorsports related. And we've interviewed W Series drivers, we've interviewed F4 drivers, we've interviewed GT drivers. We've basically interviewed whoever we can. I went over to Monaco.
Business or pleasure?
Pleasure.
Okay,
but
so
I did see an F1 driver's brother, who's also a racing driver, but didn't get a photo. So it was like very close to tears.
Because yes, you've got to take the highs with the lows.
You're really into your motorsport, and the end goal really for you is to be a motorsport presenter, isn't it?
Yeah, I just love it, and it's just something about it. And then obviously going to all these amazing countries like Monaco, Azerbaijan, Australia, it just appeals to me so much.
How easy is it to get access then to the people that you really want to be talking to on your podcast?
So obviously like F1, it's very hush-hush because the drivers, they're worth millions and millions of pounds. So F1 drivers, it's so difficult. But then some of the lower formulas like F4, maybe even at Formula 3, they're most likely to just get on with it and do an interview. But then if you look out at the GTs and like, I don't know, endurance racing, you can get an interview with them like literally like that, because they're just so willing to talk.
And do you find then, you know, you spent some time behind the scenes with us on SBLTV for a couple of episodes now, and seeing a bit about how it's all put together. Is it what you expected? Has it made you even more interested to get involved in the business then?
As long as I don't have to read an auto cue, I should be all right. But yeah, it's been really good, thank you. And I think part of it was what I expected, but then the fact that like you run it so seamlessly and you know everything fits together as it does is just so much more than I expected.
But it's planning, isn't it? From that point of view, it's the same as you. You know what you're going to ask someone. You know when you're going to talk to them.
Yeah.
You have a rough idea, don't you?
Planning and timing is the key thing.
Yeah.
We were talking to Justin Pearson before the Stuntman, and one of the things you asked him, Carl, was when he's speaking to his hero or working with his heroes. You know, what's that like? I'm guessing there's going to be people who, obviously in motorsport, that you really like and have followed, and then maybe you've interviewed them. What's that been like?
There's one that actually sticks with me. She's got a TikTok. She's called F1 Tony, and she's just really inspirational. And she like doesn't deal with the like sexist hate. But before the interview, I'm part of this like group chat community thing, and I was really freaking out because I love her content so much. And I was like, oh my god, I get to interview her. But then I think if I like got to interview, I don't know, Pierre Gasly or one of the F1 drivers, I'd like to think that I'd remain calm, but no, I probably wouldn't. I'd be like a blubbering mess.
I suppose sometimes though it's just about the conversation, isn't it? Like we're chatting now, so maybe then that breaks the barrier down a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like I would ask him a stupid question though.
Hey, believe me, Chris and I have asked a fair few stupid questions to people in the past. Don't worry about that. I mean, there's a fine line, isn't there, between if you're interested in a subject, I always think you're always going to give a better image and conversation about it. There's nothing. I think it's better to be over enthusiastic than it is to come into a subject that you don't know anything about. You know, so.
See, there's like the American racing series, like NASCAR, IndyCar. I don't know anything about them. And so I don't think I gravitate towards them, but I would like to learn more, but I just don't know where to begin. Because
so is there a space on your podcast then for people like Justin, driving stunt coordinators who drive McLarens and Aston Martins and crashes trucks?
If it was the right time, then absolutely I would interview someone about that.
Working in media now, for you coming up as someone new to the industry, has changed completely from when you and I started. I mean, I've been 20 years plus working in
longer
radio.
than I've been born.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, you know, Carl, you're a seasoned pro on television.
You mean I'm even older?
I wasn't saying that. But so it's different now, and you're mentioning things like TikTok, which I have absolutely no idea. It just goes straight over my head. But now, where people are watching traditional television, the younger generation now are watching TikTok, and this is where they're finding their idols and things like you're doing.
Well, TikTok, so I had it when it was Musical.ly, which was 2015 maybe, I want to say. But yeah, I think it's a brilliant way to grow because you see people who have been asked to do F1 TV because they've got over 100,000 followers on TikTok, and it's such like a useful tool because it has such a wide audience, like literally people all over the world, and it's just a great way to connect.
So where do you go for your content then? Where do you get your news? Where do you get your entertainment stuff? Which platforms do you use now?
So I have the F1 app, which sometimes sends me notifications. I think I did turn the notifications off though. But like Instagram, like earlier, Alfa Romeo announced something about a new team principal, and I saw it on Instagram, and then that triggered me making a post about it. But I'd say social media, and I follow some of the other journalists, and they always post all the latest news. So I think social media more than like traditional news sources.
Because businesses in Shropshire, they're trying to reach, particularly, there'll be a lot of business in Shropshire for whom young people are their target market, and they'll be sitting there, like you say, Chris and I, we didn't grow up on social media. So what platforms should they be targeting?
So I do GCSE media, so I'd consider myself an expert.
Good. Then you're in the right place.
I'm not an expert, but I would say maybe look into TikTok and high quality TikToks, and then get down to your niche. But then things like Instagram as well, because I'm not sure what the age limit is, but loads of people have Instagram, and again, it's worldwide. And so I think that is one of those two are like the main ones they should go towards.
Is Facebook nothing to really know? Do you bother with Facebook? Or?
I mean, I have Facebook. And I just, because it's connected to Instagram, because it's owned by the same people, I just use it for podcast posts, and then I'm part of a couple of like FIA groups and media groups that'll help with my career. But I feel like it's run its course.
So do you think then for businesses who especially have got products, maybe like, a clothing range or something like that, I'm guessing Instagram is the place to be?
Yeah, there's jewellery companies I follow on TikTok as well, who like, they post everything. It's really, really informative. But yeah, Instagram and TikTok would be the place to go because you can show it off whilst also having like a fun content. That's not English.
And I'm guessing as well then, if you can especially get your brand being seen by one of the influencers, then that's an even bigger deal, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah, because so recently TikTok, they don't allow public commenting unless you're like 16. And so before I turned 16, my content was getting hardly any views. And now that I'm over 16, I've had a couple which have had over 3,000-ish views. And I just think it's just amazing.
It's quite interesting, isn't it, Carl, how it's
changed? The thing that's
fascinating
is that it's the analytics side of it. When you first started putting things out, in traditional format, you had no idea who was reading, who was watching, who was listening, where they were, what their ages were, and now, you can boil down and find out a lot about everybody that's connecting with you, can't you?
Yeah, because I remember looking on Instagram, my content had reached like India kind of way, and I was just like, wow, like they don't even have a Grand Prix in India, but I was just amazed that it had reached that far.
But then you can tailor your content if you see your audience coming from an area you didn't expect, can't you?
Because I've got a couple of Dutch people, because I have quite high Dutch reach, and I was considering asking them to do like certain content in Dutch to get more of a wider audience.
I think for business, Carl, like you said, analytics is a really key thing, and using social media in that way and getting those analytics, who's your audience, what's the age range, whereabouts are they? We can break it down for Shropshire Live, and I'm sure you can for Shropshire Business. You can break down to what part of the county. You can't find a postcode, but what part of the county they're in. We know we've got big audience in Shrewsbury and Telford and Oswestry and Bridge North, and I think that's quite key for businesses to be able to do.
Absolutely. In fact, check out sbltvknowledge.co.uk, which is our post. It's got videos and podcasts and blogs in it. One of the pieces on there is all about the change of Google Analytics over the course of the year. Helen Coleshaw from Ascendancy in Newport talking about that. Teagan, thank you for joining us again.
No problem.
Great to see you.
You too.
We'll be back in a couple of minutes after this.